Hey, Gene Galin here with the Chatham Journal, and I'm out here with Gary Phillips, lead engineer on this job for the Pittsboro traffic circle renovation, rejuvenation. I'm not sure what it is, but before we start, hey folks, Gary doesn't have his mask on. We're outside. I'm more than 6 feet away from him, so we are practicing safe distancing. So, Gary, Phase 1 finished up last week on Friday. That was on schedule as the rains were coming in, wasn't it?
Correct. Phase 1 finished last Friday on time. Then we moved into Phase 2 starting Monday.
All right. Before we get into that, let's just show folks what happened in Phase 1, because we're in one of the corners here, and this was a crosswalk here.
Yes, sir. Phase 1 consisted of basically removing these 3 splitter islands around the circle here, basically so we could get traffic shifted into 2-lane, 2-way pattern on 501 north-south. And that was basically the gist of Phase 1, basically get everything set up for Phase 2.
All right, you did have rain on Tuesday, but you did finish off on schedule.
We just beat the rain.
All right, now one of the questions that came up last night was, you've got this blockage out here, but you've got a way around it, but you've got the roads closed on what, the east side and the circle. And someone said, well, why can't you take those blockages down during the nighttime? And Gary, why can't you take the blockages down?
Well, obviously, as Gene pans around here, you'll see we've obviously got a pile of remnants of curb and gutter construction, sidewalk, and that's, obvious reason why we can't, have traffic flowing through here in the evening hours. And also, where we've demoed the sidewalk and that, we've got drop-offs and such, and it's just not safe for vehicular traffic right now.
So, folks, there's your answer. That's why this is blocked off. And this Phase 2 is going to go for about how long?
I'm going to say roughly, and this is just strictly my personal opinion, I mean, we've got at least probably 2 to 3 months in this phase, because this phase will consist of basically we're constructing new curb and gutter, new sidewalk. We've got storm drainage as well as utility, water and sewer work, handicap ramp construction, brick pavers going to sidewalk. I mean, this is going to be a pretty lengthy phase. If you kind of look at it from the circle standpoint, half the circle's closed right now, so therefore we're definitely doing 50% of work in this phase.
All right. So it sounded, when people just read about it early on, it didn't sound like that complex a job, but you just went through a whole bunch of stuff as to what's going on with the circle. So it's not just, you're not just taking down the curb, you're not just taking down the sidewalk, but you're doing a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yes, sir. I mean, we're upgrading, utility lines, new water lines, new sewer lines, water meters, meter services, all that's kind of taking place in this phase. The storm drainage, we're improving some of the storm drainage around here. One thing I missed earlier, right here at the corner of the annex building, we've got retaining wall that's going to go in place in Phase 2. That's basically there to basically, since the annex building is lower than street level, the retaining wall is basically holding up the new sidewalk section.
All right.
There.
And I saw earlier on, and we got some video out, and we already put it out. They were hauling all this debris out on a truck, so that truck's going to come back in, and they're just going to keep filling it up.
Yeah, I think they've got maybe 1 or 2 dump trucks hauling this construction debris away to a approved landfill, disposing of it. And as he dumps a load, he's coming back for another one.
All right. Now, the sidewalk you were talking about with the retaining wall is right here to your right, my left. Is that right?
Actually, I think this will be just a sidewalk section. Retaining wall, I think, stops at the steps over there.
All right. We'll just take a quick look there. Okay. Yeah, you got the blockage up there.
Yeah, it kind of starts on Sanford Highway and kind of wraps around and it ties to those columns there at the steps right there going into that door of the annex building.
Gotcha. I noticed earlier on today they brought in the pipes. Do you know which side of the road that's going in on?
That's probably, I don't know if that's all the pipe for the whole job or just this phase, but that's basically the new storm drain pipe that's going in, about right where we're standing here. I mean, there's one of the existing drainage structures that will be kind of tied to, modified. But that's basically some of the initial storm drain construction that's going in.
So I assume the utilities out here are god-awful old.
Yeah, I would expect to see, we'll probably see some interesting stuff as we peel back the layers out here.
Any snakes?
Good chance. When the weather gets warmer, there's a good chance. Who knows what'll come running out of the ground. But, you know, when you get an old town as old as Pittsboro is, I mean, you know what, the courthouse was built 1700s, 1800s. You know, there's a good chance you're going to run across some old stuff.
I forgot to tell folks, Gary lives in Chatham County over in Bear Creek, and it's nice to have somebody local working on a project like that because he kind of understands what this town traffic circle means to folks. And speaking of trucks, here's one of those dump trucks. So we're going to have to move a little bit, I guess, out of their way so they can load that up. And Benjamin's been working the machinery there to get those uploaded. So phase 2, is it pretty much what we see out here right now, or is it?
Yeah, this is pretty much just phase 2. Basically, we'll be confined to, you know, this half of the circle, the eastern half of the circle. You know, kind of getting everything constructed up through the everything except the last layer of asphalt.
Gotcha.
You know, we'll start peeling back this pavement we're standing back on as we get some of the storm drainage in. You know, checking out the soils underneath it. You know, we're kind of anticipating there might be some remedial work to the soils underneath, you know, to kind of make sure they're stable.
Right.
So we put pavement back on it, we're not, you know, having failures. But yeah, this is pretty much, you know, the gist of phase 2. You know, when we get done with this, then we'll move into phase 3.
All right, before we get to phase 3, I was talking to one of the guys, Coleman, from Sandrock, and they're the folks you're using as contractors on this. He mentioned that the road would need to be milled. When you say a road needs to be milled, what exactly does that mean?
Basically, that means you'll basically take it's a milling machine. It's basically a piece of equipment that'll basically peel up this layer of asphalt here, because the elevations of the new curb and gutter may be a little different from what was out here before. So you're basically taking this old pavement structure back and getting a fresh layer of asphalt on.
All right, so as I said earlier on, a lot of folks thought this was going to be a simple job, but you're pretty much putting down a whole new circle around the courthouse.
We're putting a whole new ribbon of asphalt all the way around here.
All right, so right now what we're walking through, folks, is phase 2. You saw the drain over there on the right-hand side, and this part. Now, one of the other folks had mentioned, too, that there might be some night work. Is night work involved in phase 2, or does that come in with phase 3?
Phase 3 is when the night work will come into play.
All right, speaking of phase 3, what happens in phase 3?
Just a kind of a quick history on phase 3. Basically, phase 3 will consist of Hillsborough Street, 501 North. Basically, most of that work will take place at night while you, when the road's shut down at night, basically the contractor will be in there. Similar to here, he'll be demoing the curb and gutter, reconstructing that back, storm drainage as well, utility work. Probably the biggest thing in phase 3 will be the existing handicap ramp up here.
All right.
That'll be basically torn out and reconstructed, you know, allowing some temporary access. When the ramps gets taken out, you know, we'll have to provide temporary access up to the sidewalk. For those individuals.
So all this work that's being done, everything once it's completed is going to be ADA, American Disabilities Act compliant.
Correct.
So if I'm in a wheelchair, it's hard for me to step up onto a curb. I can pretty much roll all around the circle if I need to.
You'll have new ramps with truncated domes. That's also for the visually impaired people. You know, the truncated domes gives them a audible or a sensory device to, you know, hey, I'm getting ready to cross the street here. That's what those raised dimples on all these mats at the wheelchair ramps are for. Also, handicap access up to the elevated sidewalks. You know, that'll be provided. But yes, everything when we're done will be ADA compliant.
Folks, Gary Phillips here, lead engineer on this project, Bear Creek resident. Is there anything else that folks in Chatham County need to know about the project? I think they feel good about the fact that, hey, you're the lead engineer on this, and you're a county person, so that kind of gives you a sense that this is being looked over by somebody. Actually, what's the lead engineer responsible for?
Basically, I'm responsible for my group of inspectors out here ensuring the work's done per town of Pittsboro specs, DOT specs, to make sure that we get a good end product for the taxpayers. I mean, I pay taxes just like everybody else does.
Right, and when you mentioned the inspector, I met your inspector, and she's out here every day.
Yeah, she's out here every day, and she'll probably won't be the only one out here. There probably, as work ramps up, we'll be adding more inspectors out here.
Right.
One thing I would like to plug kind of during this phase, you know, we understand, you know, Pittsboro, this downtown area is a walkable community. With this construction, just want kind of the public to be mindful. Portions of the sidewalk will be closed, but there will be pedestrian signage, detours, kind of directing you where it's safe to cross the street at to get your points, you know, around the circle here. The other thing we would like to kind of plug is just to remind everybody, hey, all these downtown businesses are still open, you know, so come downtown, you know, and shop, you know, and make use of these guys. You know, the way the world is now with COVID and all, you know, all these small businesses have took a hit, so, you know, we would like to kind of at least put that plug out there that, hey, downtown Pittsboro is open, you know, come visit.
Yeah, there's a sign up by the bypass once you get past by the gas station over there that there's a detour away from this, but that is geared more towards trucks and not passenger cars. Correct. Is that right?
That detour is mainly to get the large semis, the dump trucks out of this area so we can complete our construction. You know, with all these different phases, it's going to be difficult for large trucks to kind of maneuver through here. I mean, understanding we're going to have some truck traffic anyway because, you know, they got to make deliveries to Burley's, S&T's, and, you know, all these other businesses through here. So we understand we're going to have some truck traffic. We're trying to get as much off of us as possible.
Right. And you, to your point about passenger cars, folks, you can come to downtown Pittsboro. It is open. Every time I've come down here, I have been able to find a parking spot. You do have to be careful, like Gary said. There's once you get near the circle, obey the signs.
Yep. Watch for the signs.